Hey, it's me, Desmodi, and welcome back to me trying to remember books that I read 6 months ago. I have to finish this. I'm not allowed to read more books until I talk about the ones that I've already read. I don't know why I'm like this. I read Tomi by Junji Ito. One time I found subliminals. I found out what those were, and there's actually a bunch of them. Their goal is to like turn the listener into Tomi. If you don't already know, Tomi is this beautiful young girl who has infinite regenerative abilities. She is immortal and makes people go crazy, and then they cut her up into pieces, and then the pieces regenerate into more Tomis. My favorite thing about reading this was actually like seeing the evolution of Junji Ito's art style throughout it. I believe it was published across the span of like 10 years or so, but like you can really tell like the early chapters look so old, and also it kind of makes you realize like what are like more like modern or more recent like trends in manga and stuff like that. A lot of his panels, nothing breaks the edges of the panel box, like even the text bubbles, all the characters, and it's very like they're also like a lot smaller than what you see nowadays. And like most manga, like they'll do more interesting compositions and they'll like break the frames up and stuff like that to create more movement. Whereas in like older ones, it's very like block, block, block. But it's a very interesting experience to read it from start to end, all in one sitting, and to just see it evolve so quickly. Another favorite thing about reading this is the outdated blurb on the back of the book that says, Tomi Kawakami is a femme fatale with long black hair and a beauty mark just under her left eye. She can seduce nearly any man and drive them to murder as well, even though the victim is often Tomi herself. While one lover seeks to keep her for himself, another grows terrified of the immortal succubus. But soon they realize no matter how many times they kill her, the world will never be free of Tomi. It's so Western. I read the deluxe editions of Hellsing and Berserk, so the first 3 volumes of each of those. I am really excited to read more of both Hellsing and Berserk. I don't have a whole lot to say about either of them because the first few volumes are just like introducing the characters and the premise. Okay, Hellsing, it's Nazis, it's vampires, it seems cool. It seems like it has a lot of really cool female characters as well. As for Berserk, I also like it seems really cool, but I also don't really have much to say about it at this point because it's mostly just introducing like the character guts and like the setting and like tidbits of the premise and introducing that gay naked fairy. I don't know what his deal is. Is he a reoccurring character? I might have to get used to seeing him. Yuri Camp and Bloom Into You. Just the first volumes of each of these. Yuri Camp was super cute and it made me want stew like really bad. It would also be like a good like cozy read, especially for right now because it's very wintry. I actually, rather than like continuing reading the manga, I'm actually kind of like wanting to just watch the anime for this one. Like I feel like the anime adaptation would be like worth it in this case, since it's not like I would be shocked to find that the manga has like story elements that are not included in something that is so like slice of life as this, you know. Like I might as well just watch the anime and appreciate like the animation and the artwork and stuff like that. I'm waiting to find like the perfect page, but I want to do a study of one of the like a spread or something like that from Witch Hat Atelier, because I feel like it's just one of those manga where it's like the art is just like I must study. It makes me sad though that I can't get like a better like resolution or a better print quality. I feel like this is like a series that would honestly do well with like a deluxe edition or something like that. Sojourn by R.A. Salvatore, the 3rd book in the Driss series. I should have stopped here, but I read to book 4. Book 3, pretty good. Again, it would be a good seasonal read. I would say that it's very wintry. We get to see Driss on the surface world, learning how to adapt to his new environment, learning that he is not nearly as strong as he was in the Underdark, new challenges and whatnot, and also new friends. He befriends a blind ranger. There's a joke in there about Mushi not being able to see color, But I don't have the strength to make it. um but yeah, we sort of get to see just the first steps towards what ultimately would be like his new thing. You know, he's left being a dark elf behind, he's left being in the Underdark behind, and now he's moving into being a ranger and being discriminated against and being outcast for new and exciting reasons. Side note, if you go into reading the Driss books in chronological order, like I had been, instead of publishing order, you're gonna get fucking whiplash when you go from reading the end of Sojourn, where Catti Bree is introduced as a child. She's like, I think like 10 or 11 years old or something like that. And then you jump to the beginning of Crystal Shard, and there's a mention of his wife, and it's kind of what? When you go from reading about child Catti Bree to reading about, oh, they get married. You telling me this 50-year-old virgin groomed a 12-year-old? Canceled. Like, I know he's young by dark elf standards, but he's definitely been... Why is that considered young by dark elf standards? Like, it's still considered an adult though, right? Like, he's been an adult for a while. It's not like he was still growing, right? Or do dark elves literally grow slower than like humans? Like, imagining like meeting a dark elf as a child and you are also a human child, and then like you grow up and then they're still a child, and then they're like, yes, I will live to see your demise, and many more. Anyway, I was kind of unnecessarily freaked out by the jump in time to when like Catti Bree is Driss' wife, because she's barely in this fucking book. Also, they're not like together at that point either. The best part about Crystal Shard is that we get to see like more of like Driss' like weird silly side, I guess. Like that's my favorite part about this character. Is like, yeah, he's like cool and like mysterious or whatever and like dangerous and stuff, but he like wink at the bad guys like walk, and then like murder them and then like steal their food and be like hee hee. The only real like note I have about reading Crystal Shard is that there's a dragon in it named Ingloa Kestimizillion. They immediately changed its name to Icing Death, but when I read it, mentally I was like, this dragon's name is Tilder. It's Tilder now. And I like my name better than Icing Death. Icing Death sounds fucking lame. Icing Death sounds like a cake dragon, not an ice dragon. Enchantment of Ravens! It was good. I liked it. I feel like everyone who reads either Enchantment of Ravens or Sorcery of Thorns has to compare the two. I liked both of them. I think Enchantment of Ravens is written a little bit better than Sorcery of Thorns, and it might be because it's slightly shorter. But Enchantment of Ravens is about the painter. She paints Fae, and then she disrespects one by painting emotion on his face. He steals her, and then they fall in love. It wraps up pretty neatly though. Very, very fairy tale style, you know? I thought the setting and the characters were really fun though. I really like Fae characters that are kind of like creepy and dangerous, you know? The Eye of the World. I read the first like 100 pages of this book, and then I switched to the audiobook, and I think I realized that reading really long fantasy stories by listening to the audiobooks is not for me. I think my reading comprehension goes down quite a bit. But I think I got enough of it to where, like, if I read the second book in paper format, maybe I'll be okay. I will say that, like, reading The Wheel of Time for the first time ever, it makes it like really obvious, like, how many authors and like how many other works have been inspired by it. It's very interesting. The Last Wish, first book in the Witcher series. Honestly, the Netflix adaptation was pretty spot on, pretty accurate from what I can remember. My favorite part is when Geralt is talking to a furry and they're both like, bitches love furries. Yep. I listened to the audiobook for this one, and oh my god, the narrator does such a good job. There's this one character who's like a goat man. Oh my god. It was amazing. He did the goat voice perfectly. Assassin's Apprentice. Again, kind of like Wheel of Time. Listen to the audiobook. I'm not good at listening despite the large ears. Shocking. Still, very likable characters. I cannot wait to read more. A Far Wilder Magic. Got a hunt for a like magical fox deity that is running amok, destroying farmlands, extremely dangerous, and it kills people. Margaret is going to sign up for the hunt. Her mother is an alchemist who has been gone for quite a while for her work and has essentially abandoned Margaret. But to join this hunt, she will need to team up with an alchemist. So she ropes Wes into signing up for the hunt. Wes is an alchemist who has flunked out of all of his like apprenticeships. He has no hope of ever actually becoming an alchemist because of that. And so he is joining the hunt to hopefully be able to apprentice under Margaret's mom when they successfully kill the hollow demon thing that is destroying everything. On top of that, they're both like ethnic and religious minorities in universe. I have some kind of like misgivings about like how that is handled. I like that it is part of the setting, and that it is something that they like bond over, but I feel like it could have been explored more, especially their relationship to the Hala, because both of them, like, it's not supposed to be like an evil thing to them, but the story kind of just glazes over that and they just kill it anyway. Spoiler. They kill it anyway, and they're not particularly like beat up over it either. That's never developed or expanded more on. Like, they're just fine with it. The setting is kind of like 1920s inspired. It's very fun. I liked the setting a lot. I know some people have issues with it because it's not like historically accurate, but also there's magic, so who cares? I loved it. It has the best ADHD representation I have ever read in a book. There are the more obvious things that where it's like, okay, this character's supposed to have like ADD. Okay, we get it. Like the bouncing of the leg and the like him like not doing well in school and stuff like that. Like there's like the obvious things where you're like, okay, this dude has ADHD, right? And then there's like there's like levels that go like deeper, like he's addicted to coffee. Mood, me too. And then there's like he rips up paper when he's like concentrating. He can't spell things right. There's this part where he like writes a note to Margaret and it's all spelt wrong and it's adorable. There's also things like Wes needs Margaret to be in the room with him in order to concentrate, aka body doubling, aka that thing that ADHD and autistic people do. And like then there's like even like deeper levels where like I related so much to this character, it's ridiculous. Like Wes, like overall, he just wants everyone to like him. Like that is like his primary motivator, is that he just wants to do good and he wants people to like him. And it's so sad watching him fail and watching him avoid things because he thinks he'll fail, and like the sensitivity to rejection. And the thing that really like fucking hit me was, so there's romance between him and the other main character, Margaret, right? And his way of confessing his feelings to Margaret is not to be like, hey, I like you or anything like that. It's to just tell her this hypothetical life that they could have that he's like imagined. And not only is that how he expresses his feelings towards her, he does it twice. Imagine. I'm like, oh god, if that ain't me. Crush? No, I just thinking about hypothetical futures. That's something. Overall, very cute. I could not put it down. I loved it. Like it's not a perfect book. I kind of wish that it was almost like 2 books and that like the second book would be just the hunt. The best part is the romance in the like build up to the hunt, which is like 90% of the book. It's like vibes. It's like it's just a good time, and it's just vibes and drama and feelings, and like it's great. But I feel like the hunt deserved to be like its own book, and then they could have expanded more on like the significance of Margaret and Wes's like spiritual beliefs and stuff like that, and like how that like ties in with the hunt. And the hunt could have been like a bigger event, you know. It could have been more dramatic too. Because it's such a tiny part of an already short book, it feels very anticlimactic, because that is like the actual thing that they're building up to. Like the entire book is them preparing for the hunt. In reality, though, it's them preparing to be in a relationship. That's what the book actually is. I don't hate it for that. In fact, I love it for that, but I just wish it wasn't trying to do two things at once. I love this book. Dune. I have no desire to read more of the Dune series. The first like chunk of it kind of annoyed me, and I was kind of worried that the rest of the book would be like that. I actually like started looking up like spoilers and going on the Reddit and stuff like that, because I was kind of concerned that I might want to DNF it. The beginning of the book, kind of it's expressing like the sort of lore of like it's getting into like the lore of like the Bene Gesserit and like the whatchamacallit, the Ganjabar, I think is what it's called. But it does so in a way that is like very gender essentialism. It also like says like there's some like bit about like the difference between humans and animals, and it's like pseudo biology, and like I wasn't vibing with it. I was like, shut up. Maybe I'll watch the movie though. Maybe the movie's better. I mean, the book is basically a boy goes camping with his mom. That's pretty much the whole thing. The audiobook was good quality though. I think the version of the audiobook that I listened to was the Audible version, but it has multiple narrators, and they have different voices for different characters. It's very good. I will say though that after listening to Dune on 2x speed, I went to bed and I started hearing like Muad'Dib in my sleep, like just like just like random words from the book, and I'm like, because you like hear them over and over and over and over and over again. Very repetitive. Crooked Kingdom was good. Interview with a Vampire. I was surprised by how much I liked this book. I actually just recently started reading the second book. I'm not very far into it, but I'm already more excited about reading the second book. It's just vampires. It's gay subtext. It's fruity. It's small demon child. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I like when gay men say that men ain't shit. That's what I assume this book's about. Funny by Mona Awad. Everyone said this book was weird, and it was weird, but it was not as weird as everyone said it was going to be. I am judgmental of people who think this is weird. I have read weirder books. I could recommend weirder books. I should do a video on a weirder book I've read. It was odd though. I like this book does unreliable narrators really well. And the entire time you're kind of wondering like what's going on, and you know, it keeps interest. I will say it is kind of a miserable read. Like I hated reading from the perspective of the main character, just because she is so like, she's got issues. And sometimes you're just like, I'm sick of being in this bitch's head. I will say I was pleasantly surprised by the ending though, with how weird and like abstract the entire book was. I was expecting the ending to be much more open-ended than what it actually was. It actually like resolved things and like concluded pretty strongly. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. Bunny follows main character named Samantha, who is at university. She's doing, I think, a master's degree? Yeah, master's program at New England's elite Warren University. And she meets a group of girls called the Bunnies at a writing workshop, and they are everything she is not. They are hyper feminine. They are obsessed with each other. They call each other Bunny. Samantha just loves to hate them. and then she becomes one of them. The bunnies are kind of like an eldritch horror though, and they are creating via witchcraft hybrids of like bunny men, but they never have dicks, and which kind of sucks because they're making them so that they can fuck, because they're all obsessed with sex. Samantha is hallucinating the entire time, either because of mental illness or drugs or both. Who knows? Her best friend is actually a swan that she accidentally turned into a human, who gets killed and then turned back into a swan. Who knows? Who really knows? Who's to say? What is this book about? I don't know. Maybe it's about being judgmental, or about like expectations, or about friendship. It could be about a lot of things. It could be also about drugs, or mental illness. Who knows? I don't know. You should ask someone smarter than me. The house in the cerulean sea. I was so disappointed by this book. So disappointed. Like, honestly, it was worse than... No, I don't know if I'd say it was worse than Name of the Wind. It was pretty fucking bad, though. And it was hyped up by so many people on BookTube, and I was so disappointed in it. I did not think it was cute at all. I thought it was disturbing. Basically, the book follows... the book basically follows like a 40-something-year-old social worker or something like that, and there's like magical humans, magic people in this world, and the children get sent to like, they're kind of like orphanages, but I'm assuming they're essentially like abducted because they're being like contained, right? So they're not there of their own accord or with any freedom. This, by the way, is never resolved in the book, other than like some kind of like baby level resolution of like, we should all just learn to be more accepting people. Which is another issue I have with this book, is that I feel like it's confused about whether it's young adults or like a children's book. But also, like, the main characters are old men, so like it's from the perspective of an old man, and like, I'm not saying that you can't write a children's book about old men falling in love with other old men, but like if it were a children's book, I would think that the children would be written to be more relatable, or we would read about from their perspective, you know? We don't get that though. The entire time I was reading this, I was trying to find some kind of like greater theme as to like what it was supposed to be symbolizing. There are forest nymphs, I don't know, spirits, something like that, and like an island nymph, and I was like, oh, maybe those are supposed to be like indigenous people, or like the wyvern character that does not talk but is still considered one of the children. Maybe this is like supposed to be symbolic of like an autistic child, or like maybe the female like gnome character, because everybody makes a big deal about how she's the only girl gnome, like maybe she's supposed to be trans. But it kind of falls apart, and they're not. It's literally, I feel like this guy just picked random characters to like write about. Especially it's like when you get to like the Pomeranian like werewolf boy, and it's like, what's that about? Oh, I hate this book. I hate this book. I hate how obvious it is that it was written by a white man. Also, the two main characters, who are like love interests of each other, they have like no chemistry. I'm just gonna say it. They have no chemistry. Sorry.
Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and join our Discord community if you like talking about books, anime, video games, or VTuber stuff. Lately we've been trying to stream more on Twitch. You can catch us making art and studying Japanese on Monday and Tuesday at 8:30 AM PST, and playing video games and practicing guitar on Thursday and Friday at 10:30 PM PST. As always, thank you for your support, and we'll see you in the next video. Manny out. Peace.